तो रिकॉर्डिंग स्टार्ट हो जाए. ओके, फिर आफ्टर 25 मिनट्स अगेन मैं क्या करता हूँ, इसको
पकड़ के रखना है वो ऑन.
फिर रिकॉर्डिंग शुरू हो गया. तो 25 मिनट्स अप्रॉक्सीमेटली 50 मिनट्स और 1 आवर हो गया. होने के बाद फिर मैं क्या करता हूँ, ये पहले Dear students, today I am going to discuss general organic chemistry. It is very important to learn organic chemistry of first year as well as second year. This becomes the basis for entire organic chemistry. So here, organic chemistry is a study of organic compounds. The study of organic compounds is called organic chemistry. Urea is the first organic compound prepared in the laboratory by a scientist called Wohler. Now I am going to explain how this urea is prepared by the scientist called Wohler. So coming to the preparation of urea by Wohler. Wohler has taken two reactants. One reactant is ammonium chloride and another reactant is potassium cyanate. So now here, ammonium chloride salt, everybody know. This potassium cyanate is having a functional group called CNO functional group. Here itself we can learn about some functional groups. So this functional group is called cyanate functional group. Cyanate functional group. So general formula of the cyanate compounds is written as R bond CNO. But what is the structure of R bond CNO? See here, R forming a covalent bond with oxygen, not with carbon. That forms a covalent bond with carbon, which has to form 4 bonds. One bond already there, triple bond with nitrogen, and this nitrogen is having a lone pair. So this is called as cyanate functional group. Now it is also separately written as bond O bond CN or C triple bond N. So this is called as cyanate functional group. But suppose due to heterolytic fission, if this bond pair will go here, then this is electron of oxygen and this is electron of some other fellow like R. Because of this becomes negatively charged and now it is written as CNO minus ion. Then it becomes cyanate ion. So CNO minus ion I can write as negative charge on oxygen, bond with carbon, triple bond with nitrogen and lone pair on nitrogen. So now this is called as cyanate functional group. This is called as cyanate ion. Then there is something called as NCO functional group. NCO. This is called as cyanate functional group. Now here What is the structure of this? I will write general formula of these isocyanate compounds. Say RNCO is the general formula of isocyanate compounds. Now here structure is nitrogen valency is 3, one bond with R, double bond with C, and therefore nitrogen has a lone pair, and C has to form 4 bonds, 2 bonds already there, double bond with O, and O valence. This is what? Isocyanate functional group. Or it is also written as OCN it is, but it is ON double bond C. So as C is forming only 2 bonds, C is having a lone pair, N is having lone pair. So this is also called isocyanate functional group. Again, if this bond pair due to heterolytic fission goes on to oxygen, then this oxygen becomes negatively charged. So then when this oxygen becomes negatively charged, then I will write this as NCO minus ion. This is called as isocyanate ion. So students, here we will come to know 2 types of functional groups. One is cyanate functional group and another is isocyanate functional group. If it is negatively charged, it is called cyanate ion. If it is negatively charged, it is called isocyanate ion. Then, most of you might be knowing, in place of oxygen, if there is sulfur, means what? Bond CNS. Then it is called thiocyanate functional group. Then structure is, in place of oxygen we have sulfur, then this is triple bond N. It is also written as bond SCN. Now suppose if this bond pair goes on to sulfur by heterolytic fission, then it will become, sulfur becomes negatively charged, then bond carbon, triple bond nitrogen. So this is called as thiocyanate ion. Then sulfur negatively charged, bond with nitrogen, double bond with carbon having lone pair and nitrogen having lone pair. This is called thiocyanate ion. And bond SNC is called isothiocyanate. Instead of ion I will say functional group. Then it will become RCN. Already most of you might be knowing this functional group. Bond C triple bond N, in short written as bond CN, and compound general formula is RCN. So this is called cyanide functional group. Then bond N, double bond C having lone pair, if you see number of electrons around carbon, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 electrons, means carbon is not having lone pair, carbon is not having octet. Therefore the lone pair on nitrogen forms dative bond with carbon. So this is a structure of what is called isocyanate functional group. General formula written as RNC. Here also everywhere you see carbon is having 6 electrons only, therefore lone pair forms dative bond with carbon. So this is correct structure of isothiocyanate ion. So here, just I was telling, preparation of urea by Oler in the laboratory, where Oler has taken ammonium chloride and potassium cyanide. Then we got introduced into cyanide functional group, then thiocyanate functional group, cyanate ion, thiocyanate ion, then isothiocyanate functional group, isothiocyanate ion. Then this already you know, cyanide functional group and isocyanate functional groups. So here itself we came across different types of functional groups, but basically what we need is potassium cyanide here now. ఇరవై నిమిషాలు కాగానే చెప్పు బాబు. ఇప్పుడు నేను స్టార్ట్ చేసి ఎంతసేపు అయింది? 25 minutes కాగానే నాకు చెప్పాలి. So ammonium chloride salt has ammonium ion, chloride ion. Potassium cyanide salt has K plus ion, and just now I told O minus bond C triple bond N. This is called cyanate ion. That's why this compound is called potassium cyanate. Now when these two are reacting, we will get potassium chloride KCl, K plus Cl minus, then ammonium cyanate NH4CnO. This is called ammonium cyanate. Like this, Oler has got ammonium cyanate, then this ammonium cyanate on heating isomerizes. We will discuss what is isomerizes to this compound called NH2C double bond O NH2. It is called as urea. If you observe, this is having 2 nitrogens, this is also having 2 nitrogens. It is having 4 hydrogens, it is having 2 plus 2, 4 hydrogens. It is having 1 carbon, it is having 1 carbon. It is having 1 oxygen, it is having 1 oxygen. It means molecular formula of these two are same, but it is having cyanide functional group, and it is having, this is called NH2 called amine functional group, and it is having CO functional group, ketone functional group. So these two compounds differ in functional group. That's why ammonium cyanate and urea are called as functional isomers. So here what is happening? Molecular formula remaining same, and and functional group is changing. That's why I have written isomerizes. So like this, finally we get urea. So like this, this was the first compound prepared by Oler. Now, so this is an organic compound. Why it is called organic compound? Because it is having carbon in them. So now, from that it is clearly known that carbon compounds are called organic compounds, and study of these organic compounds is called organic chemistry. When I say carbon compounds, means the compound should have carbon in it. But I will show some exceptional cases. This is carbon monoxide. It is having carbon in it. It is carbon dioxide. It is having carbon in it. Then this is H2CO3. It is called carbonic acid. It is having carbon in it. Then sodium carbonate, salt, has having carbon in it. Like that sodium carbonate, magnesium carbonate, zinc carbonate, iron carbonate, all the salts that have carbonate ion has carbon in them. Then this is magnesium bicarbonate. Just like that, I can write sodium bicarbonate, calcium bicarbonate, zinc bicarbonate, cobalt bicarbonate. They are all called metal bicarbonates. In them we have bicarbonate ion. In this also carbon is there. So these are all the compounds. They have carbon in them, but they are not called as organic compounds. Means they are not organic compounds. Means they are what? Inorganic compounds. Why is it like that? But actually we are saying carbon compounds are called organic compounds. These are having carbon in them, but they are not organic compounds. They are inorganic compounds. Why it is like that? If you observe, these carbonate salts, these bicarbonate salts, like sodium carbonate, magnesium bicarbonate or calcium bicarbonate, all these salts are digged out from earth crust. They are taken out from earth crust. Anybody taken out from earth crust is called mineral. It means these are all minerals. It means all these compounds are of mineral origin. Any compound that is of mineral origin, is called inorganic compound, and study of those inorganic compounds is called inorganic chemistry. So now these are all mineral origin, that's why they are called inorganic compounds. But basically all these carbonates and bicarbonate salts are called salts of carbonic acid. It means carbonic acid is also of mineral origin. But this carbonic acid, H2CO3, will come from carbon dioxide. Means when carbon dioxide is dissolved in water, you will get carbonic acid. So why like that? Because carbon is a non-metal. Non-metals oxide will be acidic in nature. Such acidic oxides, when dissolved in water, you will get oxyacids like this. So it means carbon dioxide is also of mineral origin. Now carbon dioxide is formed when carbon monoxide burnt in oxygen. Therefore carbon monoxide is also of mineral origin. It means all these compounds are of mineral origin, means they are all inorganic compounds. Study of inorganic compounds is called inorganic chemistry. So they are not called organic compounds. So here now, but what basically is, I am saying carbon compounds study is called organic chemistry. Minerals study is inorganic chemistry. But almost all the carbon compounds are either animal origin or plant origin. So The compounds that are derived from animals and plants are called organic compounds, and study of those compounds is called organic chemistry. So actually organic chemistry is all the compounds that come from animals and plants are called organic compounds, and their study is called organic chemistry. But all those compounds have carbon in them. That's why carbon compounds are called organic compounds. So now in the periodic table we have 118 elements. In that, one element is carbon. Especially carbon elements, compounds, we are studying as a separate branch called organic chemistry. Like that, remaining 117 elements like nitrogen chemistry, sulfur chemistry, phosphor chemistry, hydrogen chemistry, like that we don't study. Chemistry of all these 117 elements we study in inorganic chemistry. Why like that? Why only carbon given so much priority? Why carbon compounds only studied under separate heading called organic chemistry? It is because this carbon fellow can form millions of compounds. Millions of compounds. But other 117 elements totally, till now we know 60,000 compounds approximately. So, study of these millions of compounds along with these 60,000 compounds is not correct. That's why we are studying these millions of compounds of carbon separately under a heading called as organic chemistry. Immediately question arises, why these 170 elements together forming only few compounds, only carbon is forming millions of compounds. Only carbon has got ability of forming millions of compounds. Why carbon forms millions of compounds? It is because this carbon has a special nature called catenation. Catenation means like this one carbon atom, that is one compound. A carbon atom attached to another carbon atom, another compound. A carbon atom attached to another carbon, so this is 3 carbon compound. This is 4 carbon compound. This is 5 carbon compound. This is 6 carbon compound. Like that, you will get many carbon compounds. Or carbon attached to carbon, attached to carbon, attached to carbon, attached to carbon, forming a ring like this. Like this, carbon forms many compounds. What you are observing here is carbon attached to carbon, that is called self-linkage. Self-linkage of identical atoms to form long chains and rings is called catenation. Now, carbon element has highest catenation power. Carbon element has highest catenation power. That's why carbon can form millions of compounds. Now, like this catenation ability is not seen for other elements in the periodic table. So let us take group number 14 elements in the periodic table. We have carbon, silicon, germanium, tin, lead. Now, catenation power of these elements is in the order of carbon greater than silicon greater than germanium greater than tin. So carbon, because of high catenating power, is able to form many compounds. Silicon and other elements have low catenation power, therefore they cannot form so many compounds like carbon. So silicon also exhibits catenation, but very lesser extent, not as much as carbon. Other than 14 group elements, in the periodic table, sulfur is having catenation ability. Like you see, sulfur can form S8 molecule, like this. Means here one sulfur, yes, 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 and yes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this is also called self-linkage of identical sulfur atoms. So to some extent sulfur can exhibit catenation ability. Then nitrogen also, nitrogen has light catenation nature. The best example for nitrogen catenation is hydrozoic acid. Example for nitrogen catenation is hydrozoic acid. Hydrozoic acid. Its formula is N3H. When it is dissolved in water, you will get N3 minus ion and H plus ion. That's why it is called acid. It is called azide ion. In this azide ion and in this hydrozoic acid, we see catenation. How? Let us see, take this one, hydrogen, single bond with nitrogen, self-linkage of nitrogen with another nitrogen. So this nitrogen has a lone pair. This nitrogen has one lone pair. It is this another nitrogen, one electron, third, fourth, fifth, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, this is. But now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it is not having octet. But all others, this is having octet, this is having octet. Therefore this lone pair forms dative bond with this. Now this is having octet, this is also having octet. This is hydrozoic acid structure. So here N, this is also called self-linkage of identical nitrogen atoms. So nitrogen shows catenation to some extent. Carbon has highest catenation ability or catenation power. That is the reason it can form millions of compounds. But why it is having high catenation ability? There are reasons like this. First reason is carbon-carbon bond energy is very high. Let us take in group number 14 only. Carbon-carbon bond energy greater than silicon bond energy greater than germanium bond energy greater than tin bond energy. So because of high bond energy, the long chain or long ring formed will be stable. That is the reason it can form high catenation. So then next, coming to Why this is having high bond energy? Because always the common reason is the bond between small atoms is strong. So carbon atomic size is lesser than silicon size, lesser than germanium size, lesser than tin size. Therefore, Cc bond energy is greater. So I was telling you, carbon high cationing power, one reason is bond energy. Then small atoms form strong bonds, their bond energy is high. Now, you may get a question like this. Assertion. Carbon-carbon bond energy is greater than silicon-silicon bond energy. Reason. Atomic size of carbon is less than atomic size of silicon. This is the question. Question is assertion reason type question. Carbon-carbon bond energy is greater than silicon-silicon bond energy is statement 1. Reason is another statement. Atomic size of carbon is less than atomic size of silicon. So, first one is true. Just because I told carbon-carbon bond energy is greater than silicon-silicon bond energy. This is true. Then, atomic size of carbon is less than atomic size of silicon. That is also true. And just now I told small atoms form strong bonds. Therefore, statement 2 is correct explanation of statement 1. So answer is both A and R are correct, and R is correct explanation of A. Statement 1 is correct, statement 2 is correct, statement 2 is correct explanation of statement 1. Then carbon exhibits high catenation power. Another reason is carbon can form multiple bonds easily. Carbon forms multiple bonds easily. It means what? Carbon can form a double bond like this easily. Carbon can form a triple bond like this easily. Whereas other atoms like silicon cannot form double bonds and triple bonds easily. Germanium still less tendency to form double bonds and triple bonds. Then again, here we can frame one question like this. Statement 1. Carbon forms multiple bonds easily than silicon. Statement 2. Silicon atom has vacant d orbitals in its outermost shell. Already I told carbon can form multiple bonds easily. That is the reason why carbon has high catenation ability. Whereas other elements in the periodic table cannot form multiple bonds as easily as carbon. So it means carbon forms multiple bonds more easily than silicon. Therefore, I will say that statement 1 is true. Then coming to the statement 2. If you observe carbon electronic configuration, it is 1s2, 2s2, 2p2. 2d0. This is the electronic configuration of the first shell in carbon. This is the electronic configuration of second shell or outermost shell in carbon. But writing 2d0 is wrong because there are no orbitals called 2d orbitals. It means carbon's outermost shell do not have d orbitals. Outermost shell of carbon do not have d orbitals. Now, let me take silicon now. Silicon outermost shell configuration is 3s2, 3p2, 3d0. Like this I can write because 3d orbitals exists. 2d orbitals do not exist. So, it is clear that outermost shell of silicon has vacant d orbitals. Silicon atom has vacant d orbitals in the outermost shell. Therefore, this statement is also true. But whether this statement 2 is correct explanation for statement 1? No. This statement is true, but it is not the reason for statement 1. What is the reason for statement 1? Reason is small atoms form multiple bonds easily. Small atoms form multiple bonds easily. So, atomic size of carbon is less than silicon, less than germanium, less than tin. Therefore, size is less, it will form double bonds and triple bonds very easily. This is the reason. So then answer for this is statement 1 is correct, statement 2 is correct, but statement 2 is not correct explanation of statement 1. Okay? Let us study this in detail with an example. If you take carbon dioxide molecule, its structure is carbon double bond oxygen double bond O. It means carbon dioxide exists as discrete, means separate CO2 molecules. Therefore, carbon dioxide at room temperature is a gas. But now, similar compound, this is carbon dioxide and this is silicon dioxide of the same group. Now, silicon double bond oxygen, this structure is wrong because silicon cannot form multiple bonds. Then, how is the structure of SiO2? How is the structure of SiO2? Silicon valence is 4 but not multiple bonds, all single bonds with oxygen. Oxygen valence is 2, therefore 2 bonds. With whom? With again silicon. Silicon. Now silicon valency again 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So all these bonds with whom? With oxygens. Then this oxygen again valency 2 with silicon. With silicon. This is with oxygen. With oxygen. Then silicon. This is with silicon. So this is the structure of SiO2. This is called as giant molecule structure. Because of this giant molecule structure, silicon dioxide is a solid. This exists as a solid. It is also called what? Sand normally. So CO2 exists as a gas because carbon can form multiple bonds. SiO2 exists as a solid because it cannot form multiple bonds. This is the best example. So silicon cannot form multiple bonds, but there is one exception. There are few exceptions. One example is metasilicic acid. Metasilicic acid. Just like we have carbonic acid formula H2CO3, in place of carbon I have silicon H2SiO3. So this is called metasilicic acid, similar to carbonic acid. Just like carbonic acid structure is like this. This is H2C123O3. Metasilicic acid structure is also like this. So if you observe here, silicon is forming multiple bonds like that. There are few examples where silicon can form multiple bonds. So I was telling why this carbon exhibits highest catenation power. So carbon exhibits highest catenation power. One reason I told, second reason I told. Then third reason is carbon exhibits tetravalency. So now tetravalency means carbon forms 4 bonds like this in the form of 4 single bonds, or it can be in the form of 1 double bond and 2 single bond, or it can be in the form of 1 triple bond and single bond, or it can be in the form of 2 double bonds like this. Because of this tetravalency, carbon can form various type, one compound of this structure, another compound of this structure, another this type, another this type, like that. Carbon can form many compounds. So these are the 3 reasons. One is bond energy, second is multiple bonds, third is tetravalency. Due to these 3 reasons, carbon exhibits highest catenation ability. That is the reason why carbon can form millions of compounds. Now this is just an introduction to organic chemistry. Now let us go into the details of tetravalency of carbon. So dear students, if you observe, outermost shell configuration of carbon is 2s2, 2px1 and 2py1. This is called as ground state electronic configuration of carbon. It is called ground state electronic configuration of carbon. Now here, in this carbon, this is vacant orbital, this is half filled orbital, this is half filled orbital, this is completely filled orbital. So I am writing, this is completely filled orbital, and there is a vacant orbital, and there is half filled orbital and a half filled orbital. Now, according to valence bond theory, a covalent bond is formed between A and B by the overlapping of half filled orbital of A with half filled orbital of B. It means presence of half filled orbitals is the criteria for forming a covalent bond. So here in the outermost shell, how many half filled orbitals will be there? Then that atom can form that many bonds. In the carbon outermost shell, there are only two half filled orbitals. Now carbon can form only two bonds. So carbon can form only two bonds by using ground state electronic configuration. Therefore, carbon exhibits divalency, not tetravalency. But in millions of compounds, carbon is showing tetravalency, not divalency. But with this configuration, carbon can form only two bonds. Forget about tetravalency, let us take divalency. Where do you see divalency? Examples for divalency? Then answer is, when carbon atom uses ground state electronic configuration for bonding, then carbon atom can form only two covalent bonds, and then that carbon atom can exhibit divalency. It means what? This half filled orbital can form one bond, this half filled orbital can form one bond, like this carbon forms only two bonds. This kind of structure is seen in examples. What are the examples for that? So divalency is observed in reaction intermediates. Reaction intermediates called carbenes. Example for divalency is carbenes. These carbenes are not stable compounds which will live for long time. They are just reaction intermediates formed during the reaction, but they are not final products. They are highly unstable. Their life is very less. But in these carbenes only we see divalency. How these carbenes are formed? See, observe, this is carbon attached to hydrogen, attached to some group, attached to some group, and attached to a leaving group. L is called as leaving group. What is leaving group? We see in detail afterwards. Just I will give definition of leaving group. The group that leaves the molecule, or we say the atom or the group that leaves the molecule during the reaction, leaves the molecule during the reaction is called leaving group. It means what? This leaving group will leave along with the bond pair. This is a bond between carbon and Leaving group. In this, one electron of this leaving group, one electron is of carbon, and this is called bond pair. So this leaving group is leaving the molecule along with the bond pair. So leaving group definition is the atom or the group that leaves the molecule along with the bond pair is called leaving group. So now these type of compounds, when they are treated with strong base like KOH, so it is having K plus OH minus. In any reaction, the base role is to take away the hydrogens that are acidic in nature. See here, this is highly electronegative. This becomes partially positive. This bond pair is dragged towards carbon. This becomes partially positive. Like this partially positive hydrogens are called acidic hydrogens. So in the organic chemistry, the base is OH minus. Its role is always to take away H plus. Means what? This bond pair will go on to carbon, and hydrogen will come out in the form of H plus and combine with water. So combine with OH minus. So OH minus and this H plus form water. So now when this bond pair comes, means hydrogen's electron and carbon electron both going here, it is becoming negative. When this becomes negative, this is pulled away like this and forms L minus. So now what is there? This carbon, this bond, then this bond, then one orbital becomes empty like this. Then this bond pair became lone pair, so this is the lone pair. So now here carbon is forming how many bonds? 2 bonds. This is example for divalency. It is called as carbene. Best example is, here is chlorine, here is chlorine, here is chlorine. So this Cl comes out in the form of Cl minus, and OH minus pulls away H plus, forms water. Then one chlorine, and this is the lone pair. So it is called dichlorocarbene. It is called what? Dichlorocarbene. So now dichlorocarbene, in this dichlorocarbene, carbon is forming only 2 bonds. Therefore, dichlorocarbene is example for divalency. So then, how is it structured? Carbon having one lone pair and having one bond pair with chlorine, having one bond pair with chlorine, and there is a vacant p orbital. This is vacant p orbital. So here lone pairs 1, bond pairs this one and this one 2, total number of electron pairs 3. Whenever the central atom has 3 electron pairs, then the central atom undergoes sp3 hybridization. It means this carbon undergoes sp2 hybridization. So it means what? This bond formed is what? Sigma sp2 dash p. This bond is sigma sp2 dash p. This is sp2 orbital carrying lone pair, and this is vacant p orbital. So sp2 hybridization with one lone pair, then the shape becomes angular. So this dichlorocarbene is angular in shape. This dichlorocarbene is angular in shape. Now, if you see another type, say now this is hydrogen, 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 it is methane. When it is subjected to light, then this undergoes homolysis, means carbon's electron go on to carbon, hydrogen's electron go on to hydrogen. Carbon electron go on to carbon, hydrogen electron go on to hydrogen. Then, so now this is an unpaired electron, this is unpaired electron, this is bond with hydrogen, this is bond with hydrogen. So this is also carbene. But it is different here. Here two electrons are in one orbital as a lone pair. But here this electron is separate in an orbital and this electron is separate in an orbital. It means what? Here unpaired electrons 0, but here unpaired electrons 2. So as there are no unpaired electrons here, this carbene is diamagnetic in nature. But as this is having two unpaired electrons, it is paramagnetic in nature. So here, this is also divalency, that is also divalency. This is called carbene, that is also called carbene. This is called dichlorocarbene, that is called simply carbene. Right? Now, what is the structure of this? Here unpaired electrons 2, lone pairs how many? 0. This is bond pair, this is bond pair. Bond pairs how many? 2. So total number of electron pairs how many? 2. When 2 electron pairs are there, hybridization is sp hybridization. Sp hybridization. Whenever hybridization is sp, shape is linear. This is linear. Linear shape. So hybridization is sp. It is paramagnetic. It is diamagnetic. Now, what is it? Now names. What is this carbon called and what is this carbon called? So here, if you say its spin multiplicity, I will explain. Spin multiplicity is you will get, if you calculate, you will get 1. That's why it is called singlet carbene. Here you will get spin multiplicity 3, it is called triplet carbene. So why it is called singlet, why it is called triplet, I will continue. Okay.
ಇದು ವೈರ್ ಇದು ಸೈಡ್ ಇದೆ.
So here now spin multiplicity, how do we calculate? Here I was telling spin multiplicity is equal to 2s plus 1. This is a formula. This s is called sum of spin quantum numbers of unpaired electrons. S is sum of spin quantum numbers of unpaired electrons. In this dichlorocarbene, any unpaired electron is there? No. Therefore, no unpaired electrons, then no spin quantum numbers. So, S is 0. So, 2 into 0 plus 1, that is equal to 1. It means what? Spin multiplicity is 1. Therefore, it is called singlet carbene. Then here, spin multiplicity formula is again 2s plus 1. S is nothing but the sum of spin quantum numbers of unpaired electrons. So here this is one unpaired electron like this. Its spin quantum number is half and this is another unpaired electron, that is another half. So sum is 1. So S value is 1. So I will substitute S here, then it will become 2 into S is 1 plus 1, 2 plus 1, 3. So here spin multiplicity we are getting as 3. That's why it is called as triplet carbene. So now, according to Hund's rule of maximum multiplicity, if spin multiplicity is more, then the species or ion or atom is highly stable. If spin multiplicity is less, then it is less stable. So here, spin multiplicity of the singlet carbene is only 1, it is less stable. That is why singlet carbene is less stable than triplet carbene. So this is very important statement. Singlet carbene is less stable than triplet carbene. Reason is singlet carbene spin multiplicity 1, triplet carbene spin multiplicity 3. So here spin multiplicity is the reason for stability. So we have two types of carbenes. One is singlet carbene, another is triplet carbene. Singlet carbene, 2 bond pairs, 1 lone pair. Triplet carbene, 2 bond pairs, 0 lone pairs, 2 unpaired electrons. Singlet carbene, no unpaired electrons. Triplet carbene, 2 unpaired electrons. Singlet carbene is diamagnetic, triplet carbene is paramagnetic. In singlet carbene, hybridization of carbon is sp2. In triplet carbene, hybridization of carbon is sp. In singlet carbene, shape is angular, triplet carbene shape is linear. Singlet carbene is less stable than triplet carbene. But both in singlet carbene and triplet carbene, carbon is forming only 2 bonds. That's why I say carbon is exhibiting divalency. So example for divalency of carbon is singlet carbene and triplet carbene. Okay. So dear students, now let us see carbon monoxide structure. Carbon, just now I told outermost shell configuration is 2s2, then 2px1, then 2py1 and 2pz1. Then 2px1 overlaps with p orbital, half filled orbital of oxygen. This will form sigma bond. Then 2py will form pi bond, and this is a completely filled orbital, exists as lone pair. And now this carbon has vacant, this is pz orbital. Okay, and this oxygen is having 2 lone pairs. Now if you observe, oxygen 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oxygen is happy with octet configuration. But if you observe carbon, 2 electrons of pi bond, 2 electrons of sigma bond, total 4 plus this lone pair 6 only. It is not having octet. Therefore, this completely filled orbital overlaps with this, forming a dative bond. Therefore, sigma bond, pi bond with oxygen, this lone pair, but this lone pair turned into bond pair. Now, after turning into bond pair, oxygen 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 octet, Carbon also now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 octet. So now this is the structure of carbon monoxide. Here also carbon using what configuration? This is called ground state electronic configuration. So by using ground state electronic configuration, this carbon is showing not divalency, it is showing trivalency. So like this, when carbon atom uses ground state electronic configuration for bonding, then that carbon exhibits either divalency as you see in carbenes, or exhibits trivalency as you see in carbon monoxide. Or another example is RNC, alkyl isocyanides. Just now in the beginning I told. Now this in this NC functional group N, nitrogen valency 3 now 1 bond, second bond, third bond with carbon. So like this, when carbon is forming 2 bonds, this carbon has a lone pair and it is having a vacant orbital like this. Okay, nitrogen is having lone pair. But if you observe 2 plus 2 4 plus 2 6 plus 2 8, nitrogen happy with octet, but carbon 1 2 3 4 5 6 only 6 electrons, it is not having octet. Therefore this lone pair on nitrogen forms a dative bond with carbon, so that nitrogen as well as carbon gets octet. So this is called as isocyanide functional group. In this isocyanide functional group, carbon is exhibiting trivalency, not divalency or tetravalency. So this carbon uses ground state electronic configuration. Like this, whenever carbon uses ground state electronic configuration, then that carbon exhibits divalency or trivalency. But in majority of the organic compounds, carbon is showing tetravalency. How is it possible? Just now I told ground state electronic configuration of carbon is 2s2, then 2px1, 2py1 and 2pz0. With this configuration it can form only 2 bonds. Why? Because there are only 2 half-filled orbitals. But carbon, in order to form 4 bonds, it should have 4 half-filled orbitals, but there are no 4. This is because this is completely filled, this is half-filled, this is half-filled. Half-filled, only 2 half-filled. Therefore, what happens? In the first excited state, this electron will go here. Then the configuration becomes 2s1, then 2px1, 2py1, 2pz1. So now there are 4 half-filled orbitals. With these 4 half-filled orbitals, carbon can make 4 bonds now and thus exhibits tetravalency. So conclusion, important conclusion is, when carbon uses excited state electronic configuration for bonding, then carbon exhibits tetravalency. It means in majority of the organic compounds, carbon making 4 bonds by using excited state electronic configuration. So when carbon uses this configuration, it can make 4 bonds like this, 4 single bonds, or a double bond and single bond. This is another one. Then or triple bond and single bond, this is another one, or 2 double bonds. So in majority of the organic compounds, you will see this type of situation. This is called as tetravalency. For that, carbon makes use of first excited state electronic configuration. Okay? Stop.
Paling